Hey, thanks for coming out to the channel. Today, I am going to do an honest review about those laundry sheets that are such the rage today. I'm going to tell you what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and why ultimately any of these laundry sheets are going to be a no for me. What got me into these laundry sheets was their advertising on social media. Anything dealing with positive impact on the environment today is going to have a huge just organic pickup in so many people that resonates with so many of us. And their advertising really targeted how much smaller their packaging was and how much more environmentally friendly it was to have such small packaging. So I decided I was going to try a couple different sheets and see if there's one that I liked better than the other. And there were two sheets that seemed to have maybe a larger market share, and that's this EarthBreeze, and then the other one seems to be Clean People. And why I picked those two is one's manufactured in China. So EarthBreeze is manufactured in China. The other one is manufactured in Canada. And that seems to be the two countries of origin for any of these laundry sheets. So I wanted to see if there was a difference. When I look at the packaging, both the products did what they said they were going to do. They came in much smaller packages. And if I looked at both these products, I actually liked the Clean People packaging more than I did the EarthBreeze. And why that is the EarthBreeze, they come in these sachets. It really feels like it's a paper, polyester, or plastic blend. They have a gloss finish on them. And I believe that type of packaging is difficult to recycle. And when you look at each of the packages on EarthBreeze, there is nowhere on the package that they say their packaging is 100% recyclable. In fact, they don't say you can even recycle it. On Clean People, they clearly state that their little box is 100% recyclable. How do you measure these for the size of wash that you're washing? Well, they are both the same. The sheets are the same quantity, but different sizes. So the Clean People is a smaller sheet, but it's thicker. And what they say is use 2 sheets for an extra large load. Use 1 sheet for your normal load. And then if you're going to do a small load, use half a sheet. The only difference between the two is Clean People has this perforation down the middle of their sheet, so it makes it a lot easier to tear it in half. From a user-friendly perspective, I like Clean People more from that perspective. The last thing is to use them. For both of these, they're pretty much the same. For top loaders, they both want you to throw it in the drum. For front loaders, EarthBreeze wants you to tear up the sheet and put it in the dispenser, whereas Clean People wants you to tear up the sheet and put it in the drum. I liked how the clothes came out. They seemed really clean. They seemed fresh. They weren't crinkly or any weird thing. They dried just fine. But what I noticed was after about a month of using Clean People, it seemed to start collecting goo in the drain sockets of the front loader. And I had to clean that out more often. That caught my attention because that seemed wrong. And that got me to research this in more depth. I'm wondering what this Goop is. And that means that I want to know what the ingredients are. I went to the boxes that came with these products. There's nothing on their ingredients on these boxes, on these packages. So I went to the social media to see if they had the ingredients. Nothing there. I went to their websites to try and find the ingredients. Couldn't find it. What ended up happening is that they have a specific, unique URL that you have to know in order to get to the ingredients. And when I finally found that, I went to the ingredients, and what I found is that all these laundry sheets are using PVAs. And what is PVAs? Because I didn't know what PVA was. but it caught my attention. PVAs are polyvinyl alcohol. They are the binding agent that allows them to create these sheets. So that's that tackiness that I was feeling on the sheets. So what does that mean? PVAs have been around since like 1950. They've gone through a lot of reiterations with new patents giving new functionality to this. So the PVA that was here in 1950s is really different than the PVA that we have today. And the PVA we have today, it's a type of plastic. I wouldn't even have known that except I accidentally stumbled across an article on PVAs in our pods. So I've been using laundry pods and detergent pods for the dishwasher for years. And I guess the coating around that makes those gel packs is PVAs. What's happening is that a number of scientists are asking the EPA to do further research to see what it means to release these PVAs into the environment, because the PVAs actually release into the environment as nanoparticles. And, you know, on a lot of my episodes, we've been talking about nanoparticles. What are nanoparticles? Well, if you have a bacteria is one size. A virus is 1,000 times smaller than a bacteria, and a nanoparticle is 1,000 times smaller than a virus. Where else have we seen nanoparticles? We've seen that with the mRNA in the COVID vaccines. That little bundle of mRNA is a nanoparticle. What they've found with the nanoparticles is they're so small, they can cross the bone matrix. So to get to wherever they're going in the body, they don't even have to cross a blood barrier, because they can go through something even smaller, the bone matrix. So these are really, really small particles that have a ton of flexibility when it means getting anywhere. And the other thing that makes them really tough is they are not able to be collected back up. So here it is. These scientists are asking the EPA to do more research on these. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And that's a reasonable request. Remember the PFAS settlement? You might not, but PFAS just recently got settled. What are PFAS? Well, that was originally only used in Teflon coating, but now it's used on pretty much everything. It's used on the coating for dental floss. It's that plastic coating on everything that gives it so much resistance. And what they found is this lawsuit was going on for 20 years. And they found that PFAS are actually incredibly toxic to you and me and to any living mammal in the environment. The problem is, being that it's taken 20 years to address this, and now that they're measuring it, they found that PFAS is everywhere. It's in most of our drinking water, groundwater. So people that are on wells, and you're wondering, how is that? Because where I live, there's people who live in the foothills around here that live on wells. And I'm wondering, how in the world did PFAS get up there? Well, from all the products that we're using. I guess all the products that we're using gets into our wastewater. And okay, why would I even say that? Well, Maine is one of the few places that have tested land that has been used to distribute dry cake. So what's dry cake? Our wastewater systems have the liquid stuff that they think is clean that they disperse into the water. And then they have the dry cake, which is the residual. And what they use is they say that's clean too, and we're going to put that as fertilizer on some of our farming land. That's what they were doing in Maine. And Maine is one of the few areas that actually started testing their farmland for PFAS contamination. And what they found is on these farmlands where they were using dry cake, the level of PFAS is so high that their land is no longer sellable because it's toxic. They talk about one farmer who had to kill his whole herd of cattle because they had such high levels of PFAS in them. Okay, so how did this whole thing happen and why is this important to me with this PVA? Well, when they first started talking about PFAS, it was like one article here and there. These scientists were saying it's a problem, and then it would just disappear and it would get squished and it would no longer have relevance. Here we have one group of scientists asking for something very reasonable. And, just what we don't know about nanoparticles is stunning. And I think about that right now because they're already saying that we have a problem with plastic nanoparticles in the ocean. And I think about that because, we have all this wildlife in the ocean that either has this water passing over their gills or spends a ton of time underwater in this stuff. And I just can't think that that's going to turn out well. And I don't think we should wait 20 years to find out that we've contaminated everything to such a point that it's now too toxic for us to even use. So that's why, for me, I just kind of go, that's one group of scientists saying that this is a problem. And it probably is. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that, but I think that we've learned a lot since 4 or 5 years ago. We've learned a lot about corporate espionage. We've learned a lot about how corporations, being that they're not held to the same standards, they're not held accountable for killing people. Like you and I, if we kill somebody, well, we're going to have to pay for that. But corporations right now are not held accountable for killing people, for destroying their land, for destroying their livelihood, for destroying our environment. And maybe that needs to change, because if that changed, I bet they would make a different decision. Until that time, right now, unfortunately, I'm going to say no on the laundry sheets. And let's just be real. We all have to make different decisions. We all have to make a decision for ourselves and how we're going to participate in this world and how we're going to do things to help protect the environment. And just us being here seems to have a negative impact on the environment. So I'm not saying everybody has to make this decision. I'm just saying, for me, this is going to be my decision. And who knows? But until next time, I will catch you on the other side.